There are a lot of mechanics in Rocket League, and safe to say, some are definitely much more important than others. Today we determine exactly which ones are more important as we make a perfect 100% accurate tier list of the mechanics in Rocket League. Alright, so kicking things off here, we have a bunch of mechanics, and we are going to hop right into this with some things that I don't think are overly important to being able to rank up at a consistent rate. So looking at this just right off the bat, I see curve dashes, which aren't really necessary to be able to rank up. I see breezy flicks, which again aren't really necessary. I would also group musty flicks into that same area there. Let's see, what else? Wall dashes as well, kind of the same idea as curve dashes, something that is definitely very useful, but something that I do not think is required to be able to rank up, as I still cannot do any of these, and being a GC1, GC2, the only one that I've felt there were moments that I wish I did know how to do is wall dashes, but we are working on that, so we'll see how that comes along, of course. So I think that just about does it for the F tier. I don't see anything else that is as unnecessary as these three here. So we're going to jump up now to S to see exactly what pretty much is required to be able to rank up effectively. And looking at this, the first thing we're going to put up here is shooting. Now, honestly, if you don't have solid shooting, if you can't place the ball properly, if you can't shoot the ball with power, you're really going to struggle to get past some of the higher rated defenses in this game. So you really need to be able to master shooting to be able to consistently rank up. Also being placed up here will be things on the defensive end. Backboard defense, extremely important. And I know backward saves are also here. That is also extremely important. We're also going to consider fast aerials. And a bunch of these things kind of work in tandem. Backward saves and fast aerials, definitely. In order to make backward saves, you often need to be able to get up into the air fairly quickly with the ball flying over your shoulder. But these defensive mechanics are extremely important because, especially at the higher levels, you're going to have balls flying at your backboard, you're going to have shots coming over your shoulder very consistently, so being able to defend them properly is very key to being able to push into the higher ranks, and fast aerials is something that you should learn very, very early on, as it is one of the key mechanics to be able to outpace your opponents. If you can't fast aerial, you are just majorly undermining your ability to play the game well. The last thing I'm going to put into the S tier is going to be clears, and the reason being this one kind of falls in line with the defensive ideas. If you can clear the ball effectively and get rid of pressure from your own team, it can go a long way in making games far easier for you. If you find yourself stuck in your own half fairly consistently, it can be incredibly difficult to actually be able to score. So being able to clear the ball effectively is extremely important. I think that'll just about lock it down for the S tier, so moving on to the A tier now, let's see what we are working with here. Into this tier, I'm going to place two mechanics that I think you need to learn extremely early on. Half flips are incredibly important. They are just on the cusp of being S tier, and half flips and wave dashes are two of the mechanics that I use the most often. However, I do not think they are as key to ranking up as the things up here, just by a little bit. Just by a smidge, these guys aren't as good. But they are incredibly useful, so if you do not know how to do these two things, and you are lower ranked, I highly recommend that you learn both of them, because you will see a massive improvement in your movement around the field if you're able to do these two things consistently. Also going into this tier will be air dribbles and flicks, pretty much both for the same reason. If you want to have a consistent offensive attack, you need to be able to do both of these things pretty well. Both of these things can put a tremendous amount of pressure on your opponents because they can both be so deadly. And the air dribble especially is pretty much the groundwork on which you can build more advanced aerial mechanics, so you need to learn air dribbles before you can actually do the more fancy things. Now we're going to get a little tougher here on what should be an A and what should be lowered down. I think the final thing that I'm going to put into this tier is going to be wall play. And the reason being, there is going to be many times that a ball is going to be bouncing off the wall, or you're going to be positioned on the wall ready for a challenge, and just being able to make plays off of that, whether it be catching the ball and launching an offensive attack, or just defending properly, forcing your opponents to do something, or reading bounces off the wall as well. I would consider all of that play on the wall, so all of it is extremely important to be able to play the game well, so I think it does find itself here in A. From there, we're going to move on to B, mechanics that are definitely still incredibly important, but not as necessary to being able to rank up, as we pretty much want to focus on all of the fundamentals and then move our way up from there. So in B, I'm going to put quite a few things. First of all, double taps goes in B. I think bounce dribbles goes in B. Double jump pop, directional air roll, and air roll shots. And allow me to break kind of each of these down. So bounce dribble is going to kind of be another more advanced method of attacking on the ground. So we already have flicks here in A, because that is the more fundamental dribbling technique. But then you have bounce dribbles that can be extremely dangerous and help you work a lot more on your ball control and car control. So very useful to have this ability in your back pocket to be able to control the ball in a way that you can generate a lot of power on it very quickly. You also have the double jump pop. Again, this is kind of a extension of the air dribble. So you know how to air dribble probably off the wall or with the ball bouncing. Double jump pop allowing you to be carrying the ball on top of your car and then just popping it up into the air dribble. A very useful skill. Very useful when you find yourself in 1v1 situations. Allow you to be a lot more threatening in those situations to just be able to pop the ball over the top of your opponent while carrying it with just a double jump. Very simple skill that can be incredibly effective. Then you look at directional air roll and air roll shots. I kind of group these both together. Obviously, you can air dribble without really being able to use directional air roll. Directional air roll isn't really necessary to be able to air dribble, as you've seen a whole lot of bot air dribbles where the car is just floating behind the ball and it's not a problem. But directional air roll does allow you to more easily and more fluidly change your direction as you're flying through the air. Gives you a lot more control of your car while you're in the air and makes aerials a whole lot easier. And then air roll shots kind of comes into the same idea. Allows you to take the shooting that we want to put in S and make it even more deadly. Because if you can already place the ball well just by driving up to it and shooting it, then what we really want to do is kind of elevate that by adding air roll into it and being able to add power and different angles from the direction we're coming from. Not really necessary 100% to rank up, but pretty much anything in S, A, and B are all things that if you're able to do all of these things well, you are well on your way to being a very, very high rank in this game. Moving on down to C, we're going to be working through these fairly quickly. In this, I'm going to throw in redirects, speed flips, and power slide cuts. These again are all things that are incredibly useful, but I don't think you need to be able to do any of these things to really rank up consistently. Speed flips are definitely useful to be able to move around the field quickly, but it's not 100% necessary, because if you're good at preserving your momentum and you're already used to moving around the field at a fairly high speed without them, they're not really necessary, especially when you add in like wave dashes and things like that, being able to generate speed in that way. Speed flips are definitely useful, but not something that is 100% required. Redirects, the reason it finds itself so far down is that it's very situational, right? You're not gonna find yourself in the position for a redirect in every single game that you play. So with that in mind, we don't want it to be super high on the list, Because if it's super high, that means that it's something that we need to train super often and be super good at to be able to rank up, and that's just simply not the case. You're just not going to find yourself in every game with chances to go for redirects all that often. And then lastly, power slide cuts. Something that is very useful in ground technique, but especially in 2s and 3s, you don't really have as much space to work the ball on the ground. In 2s, you definitely have a bit more space, and being able to be unpredictable and cut the ball around in different directions is very useful. But it's kind of the lowest tier in terms of ground mechanics that we have here. Flicks being the first, bounce dribbles the second, and then power slide cuts, kind of the way that we would work it. And of course, if just plain dribbling was on here, that would obviously be in S as something that you kind of need to work on first, and then build upon it from there. So that kind of sums up C. So now looking at the other two, I actually think I am going to space them out. I'm going to put flip resets first into D. Reason being is that the way we're structuring this is kind of building off of what comes before. And if you have fast aerials up here, and then you have air dribbles, and then you have air roll, now at that point you can work on flip resets. And actually, now that I'm kind of looking back on this, I think I actually do want to do this, and the reason being is that we're working on our aerial mechanics all the way up. We got directional air roll, so now in C I actually think we can start to work in flip resets, which I think looks right because you do have quite a number of opportunities to go for flip resets in game, a lot more than redirects actually overall, so I do like that. Flip resets is the one way that you can make your aerial plays far less predictable. Obviously, if you're just air dribbling through the air, there's a very set amount of trajectories that you can follow along. Also, it's very easy for the defense to come up and bump you off the ball. Flip resets allows you to take that aerial play to the next level and make it more unpredictable. So with that in mind, we will actually bump flip resets up to C and drop redirects to D, because in my games, even, I find far more opportunities to go for flip resets than I ever do for redirects. And lastly, we're going to drop ceiling shots into E, mainly because it's just something that doesn't happen as often as the other things listed above. Obviously, if your offensive attack is very potent, you can utilize these to be even more predictable. Go up to the ceiling, get a reset there, come down, get a reset off the ball, so on and so forth. But I really don't think that a ceiling shot is necessary to be able to rank up. If I worked it more into my repertoire, would I maybe be able to bump up another rank or two? I really don't think so. I don't think learning and drilling down that mechanic is going to change my offensive game all that much. Not in the same respect that flip resets would. If you can get consistent at flip resets, ceiling shots kind of become second hand to the flip reset. So this is kind of where I think I land in the S tier for mechanics for ranking up. Shooting, backboard defense, backward saves, fast aerials, and clears. In A tier, you have wave dashes, half flips, air dribbles, flicks, and wall play. In B, double taps, bounce dribbles, double jump pops, directional air roll, and air roll shots. C, flip resets, speed flips, and power slide cuts. D, you just have redirects. E, ceiling shots. And then F, absolutely not necessary to be able to rank up to a fairly high level. Curve dashes, breezy flicks / musty flicks, and wall dashes. So there you go, that just about wraps it up for what I think are the most important mechanics for ranking up. Go ahead and let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments below. Of course, if you guys do enjoy videos like this, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below this video so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you'd like to be more involved in this community, please consider joining my Discord, link down in the description below. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.